You're listening to the audio-only version of Cocktails with Cav, the popular video cast streamed live only on X. Follow us here on Spotify or on X at Cav Literature. Oh, happy Thursday, everybody. I hope everybody's had a great week like I have. We have an incredible show for you tonight. I tell you what, incredible author with a much talked about historical fiction trilogy. His Brittle Saga, the Brittle Sea, the Brittle Land, and the Brittle Sky. It's just going to be a great show. You're going to want to stick around. So please, look, follow us, hit that notification bell so you never miss one of our great shows each week. And by all means, look, please like and share the stream so more people can get to know these incredible indie authors, entertainers, and artists. Little quick bit of housekeeping. I tell you what, check our links in the description. Please consider supporting the show. Buy me a coffee link. Cheap cup of coffee is all it takes to support the show and getting these indie creators out in front of people. And also our merch link, look. Hey, great swag, great way to support the show. Get you some good Cocktails with Cav merchandise. Well, I tell you what, we're going to have fun tonight. I made it through the Easter holiday weekend. I stayed away from the carbs because I have to maintain my girlish figure. So summer's coming with the sailboat, but I'm still not allowed to wear a Speedo on the beach. So maybe I can work on that. Well, please, I tell you what, I hope everybody has had a chance to grab a great cocktail, sit back, relax, and help me welcome to the stage the incredible author, Tom Kane. Oh, Tom, I am so glad you could finally join us, friend. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad. How are you?
I'm getting there. I have my cocktails ready to go. Got a little nice gin mixture to take it easy early in the day, since you're coming to us from Cyprus, huh?
That's right, yeah. I'm on soda water at the moment because of my voice.
That works.
I love a cocktail, though, I must admit.
Well, Cyprus sounds like an amazing place. I mean, you're in the heart of the Mediterranean there. It's got to be beautiful country, huh?
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, obviously during the winter time, it's like anywhere else. It's nice and dull. But in the summer, it is fantastic. And today's been a really sunny day. So I spent most of my time in the garden, enjoying myself and trying to get a suntan.
That's right. Well, you got a great hairstyle, so I can't fault you at all.
I lost this at 18, so I'm quite used to it.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't know what to do with hair myself, right about now. So. Well, man, Tom, I tell you, interacting with you on actually just a fun guy and has some really great work that we're going to get into a little bit later on the show. Right. But would love to get the viewers to know the authors. I tell you, I'm a strong believer in knowing the author, and you might get to know some of the impetus for the work and enjoy it a lot better.
Yeah, you need to. I think readers like to understand. I enjoy reading about them and understanding where they come from.
Yeah, that's it. Well, tell us a little, man. Let the viewers get to know you, Tom. How'd you get to Cyprus? Where you from? What happened, man? What happened?
I'd love to know myself. But it sort of grew on me. At the age of 8, I decided I wanted to be a writer. 8 years old. Would you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah. And I wrote my first science fiction story at the age of 8. Planet A for Acid, absolute classic. So I spent most of my life wanting to be a writer, but never really had the chance to be a writer. It wasn't until I was about 20 years old, I bought a small typewriter, started writing properly, what I call properly, and tried to get myself published. Nothing happened, absolute nothing. And I couldn't really do much about it until I got to the age of about 50. And that's when the Kindle came out. That changed my life completely. I could actually write with a computer, I could write. And then it started to change and became a published author 11 years ago. So by the time I'd got to this point, I've looked at the future and thought, oops, time's running out. But and that's basically the story.
A for acid. Did you write that in the 70s, or is that?
No, I was 8 years old, and that was 1963.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
But it's when the hovercraft came out. Christopher Cockerell invented the hovercraft. He brought it out in that year, and it gave me the idea. I thought, well, at some point, there'll be people out there finding new planets. Maybe there's a planet out there that's got acid lakes, acid seas. The thing to do is get a hovercraft and hover over this and explore. And that's what it was all about. There were acid monsters and all sorts in there. And that's really what inspired me. I love to look at science. Science fiction is my genre. I love to read science fiction, and I hope I can write science fiction, but I've only ever really tried it once, and it sort of came out okay. But my real genre for writing seems to be historical fiction. People seem to enjoy it, so that's the way I went.
I got it. Yeah, and it's well, how'd you make your way to Cyprus anyway? Coming from Britain, it sounds like an interesting trek, you know.
Yeah, again, I always wanted to live in the sun. It was always one of my dreams to be actually able to be a writer, to live in the sun, to enjoy myself in the sun. And it wasn't until I actually got married, and I didn't get married until I was 49. I decided many, many years ago that I was never going to get married until I was 50. I managed to get to 49 until my wife, who is sitting next door to me, so I've got to be very careful here. My wife, when we got married, we both decided we wanted to move to somewhere in the sun. And originally we were going to live in France, southern France. And her daughter decided she and her family were going to move and be a teacher in Cyprus. We went to visit them, and that was it. We just loved Cyprus. 2008, we moved over during the financial crisis, and it was probably a stupid thing to do, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. And we ended up living in Cyprus and enjoying it, and I've never looked back, and don't intend looking back either. We've got no intention of going back. We just love being where we are, and that's the story.
Well, that's fantastic, I tell you, and I think a lot of the viewers, heck, I know I am, just interested in what Cyprus might be like, because that's when you move off into a foreign land, but I understand it was a colony in that at one time. So how did you have to adapt a lot, or?
Yeah. I mean, when we first arrived, the first thing that happened when we arrived, we brought our two dogs with us. We got two Springer Spaniels, Harvey and Holly, and we decided to bring them with us, obviously. So we got on the plane, got the dogs on the plane, flew to Larnaca Airport, got off the plane, went to where the luggage comes through, and spoke to someone about our dogs, and they said, your dogs will come through where the luggage comes through. So we stood waiting, and we thought, that's a bit strange. You expect your luggage to come through, but the dog in a cage as well. And we waited and waited. We landed at 10 o'clock at night, and by midnight they hadn't turned up, and we were getting really, really worried, and we couldn't get any information from anybody. No one was telling us what was going on. And eventually we found the dogs. They were in a warehouse at the back of the airport. Went to go and get the dogs out. The guy in the office said, you have to pay a fee. So we paid this fee. He then said to me, you must go around to the office around the back of this building. So I went round the back of the building, walked in, and there's this man, and I just pay a fee to. And I said, have you got a twin brother? And he said, no, deadpan. And I said, okay, I've come to collect my dogs. He said, you must pay a fee. So I said, I've just paid a fee. He said, you must pay another fee for taking the dogs off the plane. So I paid this other fee, got the dog, and that was the beginning of Cyprus. It was basically, welcome to Cyprus. Please keep your passport and wallet open. And it was very much like that. There was an awful lot of money had to be paid out to try and understand how things work. And it's a different world, but once you understand it, and once you get used to it, then it is a really lovely place to live in. It's just a matter of really adapting how you are. You're British in a strange land. You do it their way, not your way. So if you expect to go to Cyprus and be Little Britain, it's not. It's Cyprus. It's their way, or just leave.
That's it. Their way or the highway.
Yeah, their way or leave. Yeah, their way or the highway.
Oh, that's something. Well, that's good. So now you just enjoying yourself in the sun. I tell you haven't read some of your bio. It's like, yeah, you got on this author thing and conquering some bucket list items, and
oh, yes.
Living in the sun, you got yourself where you needed to be. So is that when you started writing in earnest?
Yeah, but by that time, my career was as a computer programmer, and I basically learned basic language, computer language. I bought myself a little Sinclair Spectrum, and the idea was to be able to write on this and save my stories because there was no other way of doing it. So I learned to program and created my own word processor, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I thought, oh, this is wonderful, the things you could do. And that took over. I gave up writing and started writing software. And became I became a programmer. And for many, many years, I was a programmer. That was my business. Multimedia, and when we came to Cyprus business, we had a business making embroidery on t-shirts and polo shirts. Brought that with us. We created our own business, and I wanted something to do other than that, so I went back to writing, bought myself a computer. We always had computers, and started writing again. I published my first novel, Operation Werewolf. And since then, I've another 4 novels and lots of non-fiction, and never looked back. I'm not making any money out of it, but at least I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah, getting your work out in front of people. And I tell you, that's one of the reasons I was so glad to have you on. There's a lot of talk. The writing community on X is really just a great place to network, learn things. But there's quite a little buzz about some of your work that we'll talk about when we come back. But if we could take a little break, Tom, let's refill our cocktails and your water, and we'll come right back and get into some of this great work. I'd love to talk about your Brittle Saga, and we'll have a go at it.
Okay.
I'd like to just take a brief moment in the middle of the show to try to get all you guys, go visit my link tree. It's right there at the top of my X profile, as well as the web address right above me. Go check it out. It's a great way to never miss a show. You'll have the latest Cocktails with Cav show, episodes on our Spotify audio-only podcast, as well as ways to support the show and other great offerings from the Cocktails with Cav franchise. So please head on over to my link tree and go ahead and subscribe and never miss a great Cocktails with Cav show. Oh, Tom, man, I'm refilled. I'm ready to go, man. How you making out over there?
Yeah, I'm ready to go as well.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, well, like I was saying just before the quick break for a little refill on my end, a lot of your work, I was just really fascinated. You have an awesome trilogy, the Brittle Saga, and I was hoping you could tell us a lot of, about it, because it's like I said, you get a little buzz going in the writing community a little, and from some bloggers and reviewers I've talked to.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some good reviews, and I was pleasantly surprised at a lot of them. I mean, obviously there's a lot of negativity as well, but most of the people that read it, and it really came about from reading a book about the survivors and how they were rescued mainly by the Carpathia. And one of the things that suddenly struck me would be, what would it have been like to have been a survivor, to have somehow managed to find yourself on a raft or a boat or even on a bit of iceberg and watch the Carpathia sail away, and you're looking at, that's it, they're going. No one's going to come back and save me. What happens now? You freeze to death. And it just made me think that maybe there were survivors out there that were never picked up, and they just watched this boat sail away, and that was their lives gone. And I thought to myself, I could actually make a story from that. And that's how the Brittle Sea came about. And the pandemic came along that I managed to finish it. And because of that, it was originally going to be one book, but it sort of carried on during the pandemic. And I got faster and faster at writing it, and it took over.
I like that.
Yeah, it did. It took over. It actually decided what it wanted to do and became a trilogy. And I had literally no input whatsoever, apart from the fact that it was me that was writing it. The characters took over, basically.
Well, you know what? That when you can bring characters to life and they can begin driving a story, I imagine that you're doing a good job of it.
I try my best, but normally it's them that, like you said, they drive the story. I get little input, and all I'm doing is two fingers and tapping away.
That's fascinating. Yeah, and so the Brittle Sea, like you said, as it explores that concept of the survivors. Titanic, for lack of a better term, basically, right? And so it became this awesome trilogy. You went into the Brittle Land next. What do we have going on there?
Well, the Brittle Land, basically, obviously, it's a continuation. The Brittle Sea ends with I'm not giving anything away, but the Brittle Sea ends with a finale that makes you want to hopefully go on to the next story, designed to be a cliffhanger to make you want to go on to the Brittle Land. And the Brittle Land just continues the story of Magda, who in the Brittle Sea came across to America to marry an unscrupulous American. Excuse me. This guy is a real nasty piece of work.
We don't have unscrupulous people in America, not at all.
No, I know that, yeah. I had to make someone a baddie, and it just turned out that he was an American. And at the end of the day, her story is really the way that she two characters. She loses her memory when she survives the Titanic sinking, and then she becomes Magda because the captain of the ship that rescues her, Captain Blackmore, calls her Maggie, gives her the name Maggie. It becomes a family affair with lots of baddies coming along and trying to disrupt the family. And Brittle Land takes us on from there with that family. Richard Blackmore, but he's the fall guy in all of this. He's unhappy in love, let's put it that way. So the Brittle Land is their love story extended, but it's where there are lots of different things in history come along, i.e. Their own pandemic in 1918, 1920, I think it was, the First World War, which then leads us on to, obviously, the Brittle Sky. And that actually is my favourite. That's my favourite book of all three. And that's the one that seems to be liked by a lot of people because it seems to be getting better ratings than the rest of them. But at the end of the day, all three of them, I think, make a really good story. Everyone that I know that's read the three enjoy it. my wife enjoyed it, so that means it must be good.
That's right. But yeah, and I tell you, I love the saga and the trilogy because it's almost as it said, it kind of follows these characters along over a long period of time, which almost Godfather-esque, yes. in the family, and it's billed as a great romantic thriller, obviously, but it is just a bunch of fascinating work, and so I highly recommend it to everybody. Definitely go check out Tom's site, and all the links will be in the description. Please do go check those out, and I know you have other books listed on your website there, Tom. Anything we missed that we want to tell everybody about?
Well, I've got 2 more books that are coming out. The next one is Walking Away from Midnight, which again is historical fiction set in the beginning of the Second World War in France. Tells the story of Jessie Foreman, who's the daughter of the British military attaché to the embassy in France, in Paris. And she becomes embroiled in espionage to do with the German Enigma machine, code machine. And it's her journey from the midnight, where her father's got this country house where he lives in France. And she has to lead her siblings and friends and whatever on a journey from there across to Dunkirk to try and escape the German onslaught. And again, historical fiction and lots of twists and turns and spies and action and adventure and you name it, it's there. And the next one after that, completely different, is science fiction. The Ragged Edge of Time, and that should be out at the end of the year. It should be out within the next 2 months.
Well, great. Well, man, Tom, you got to promise to come back on and visit us when your new work comes out as well. We'd love to hear about it and talk about it for the guests, that's for sure.
Yeah, I shall enjoy that. I love talking about it. You'll have to forgive my voice because it's disappearing rapidly.
No problem. Well, Tom, really, again, I know I've said it throughout the show, but I'm so appreciative you came on as a guest because, like I said, I love interacting with you on X, and you're just a fun guy to talk to, and a great bit of work that we'd really like everybody to check out. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had a chance to meet Tom on X or follow him along, he's at Tiger Bites. His handle's right there on his video for you to give him a follow. Follow his great. What's that? I'm sorry.
Sorry, come and talk to me.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, interactions, everything, and please, by all means, ladies and gentlemen, Tom's link will be right there in the description of the show. Bookstoread.com and of Tom Kane, and please go check out his fascinating the Brittle Saga Trilogy. Just a great bit of work. And Tom, we look forward to your new stuff coming out too, bud. So again, promises to come back. Oh, it is. Really, and I hope you enjoy a lot of that sun in Cyprus. I'm coming to you from New Orleans. We get just as hot and dreary and muggy, but we'll try to cool off together. So
next time it'll be even browner.
That's right. Well, Tom, cheers, my friend.
Cheers to you. Thank you very much for having me.